I just wanted to look and see what Yugoslavia was. It might be in, oh, World War One. Wait a second, were we in that war? Mm-mm. Place in Sarajevo, the capital of Austria-Hungary, Bosnia-Herzegovina. Hungary and Serbia long intentions. Now, the United States joined the Allies in 1917. Yeah. Mhm. Support of the United States gave the Allies the resources and the resolve. Yeah. Background of the war, military buildup. Oh, oh, there's that Royal Navy. Oh, Belgian soldiers. Yeah. So we did have World War One. Yes. And the United States was involved in that. Oh my gosh. World War One. Yeah. It seems that the arm. Oh, World War Two. Oh my gosh, we were there too. Now, exactly what did we do as Army? Well, it's one of these situations where we just can't look bad. Then there were the Nuremberg trials. Remember that? Nazi leaders to justice? Yes. Now, I know that you say that there's no use of technology, but what if the Army did know? Oh, and they explained to the American population. Now, you could use cell phones or radio frequencies. Yes. You could use electricity to electrocute citizens. Ooch. That you as the sheriff. It would make the Army look bad to the rest of the world because the leadership of the world does not want the United States Army looking bad. They don't want the United States Army prosecuting those in local government. Isn't that right, Wyoming? Oh, look, they have a constitution in Wyoming. To the must be approved by a majority of the people voting in that particular election. Yes. Matt Mead was the last governor there. Oh, they have a Supreme Court in the state of Wyoming. Why don't you give me all the employees of the government of the state of Wyoming? It looks like the United States Army doesn't want to be involved. And as a homeless man, yes, I'm just kind of stuck here. That you can issue a dissolution of marriage in violation of NATO agreements. Yes. That the United States Army, nobody watches these. No one else in the world. No one in NATO has any idea that the United States is in violating NATO treaties. Oh, no one in Wyoming knows, do they? That states don't support their individual constitutions and they don't have to support the Constitution of the United States. And the United States Army can be, well, they're not even weak. They have no strength. They don't know what they're defending. They have no strength as an army. They don't know what they're defending. Why don't you get me the state of Wyoming? I'd like to. Oh, look at Yugoslavia. Now, there was the Kosovo crisis in 1997. Yes. In early 1998, Yugoslavia received international criticisms. We couldn't look bad to the rest of the world, so as they would criticize us for, well, violating NATO agreements, United Nations agreements, and violating the whole concept of why the United States goes to war. See, we have no strength as a nation because you don't defend the Constitution. The North Atlantic Treaty Organization, I just got one of their encyclopedias last night. They sponsored peace talks in early 1999. The Serbian delegates, they rejected the peace plan. Then in March, NATO began airstrikes against military targets in Yugoslavia to force the government to accept the peace plan. But Serb attacks continued and hundreds of thousands of people fled Kosovo. Oh, in 1999, hundreds of thousands of Kosovar citizens had fled the nation because of a war. Then in June, the Serbian military commanders agreed to withdraw forces from Kosovo. NATO stopped the bombing and sent an international peacekeeping force to Kosovo. Yes. Then the refugees from Kosovo, they returned to Kosovo. Yeah. Looks like, let's see here. This is Kosovo, and they all fled to Albania. Yes. And then we were married right there, the non-existent nation of Kosovo. Yes. But Yugoslavia used to have this whole area. Now, I know that the United States Army probably, well, they said we'd look bad if we helped NATO. It's better that we have wars where we're not involved. Then in 2002, the leaders of Montenegro, Serbia, Yugoslavia planned to create a new constitution for Yugoslavia. And they decided to have a constitution? Yes. It officially became Serbia and Montenegro. But that country later ceased to exist. Montenegro declared their independence in 2006. Then in 2008, Kosovo declared its independence without Serbia recognizing it. Now, I just wanted to know this United Nations marriage certificate that was issued because NATO decided that we don't really like what's happening in Yugoslavia, and we don't like hundreds of thousands of Kosovars having to leave their homes and go to Albania or any other place they could flee to because of the fighting that was taking place during that conflict. Now, let's say you were one of these army generals, yes, and you thought that it makes the United States look weak, yeah, to defend the Constitution, that every soldier in this nation should not know what they're doing. Why do they enlist in the army? Why are you in the army, soldier? Because of the president being the commander in chief, and if the president gives an order, the army has to do it. Well, we do have a president, isn't that right? Yes. And a vice president and a Congress. We have a Supreme Court, and we have other elected individuals in office. Yeah. And they all decided that it's better for a homeless man to not have his rights enforced and stay in office. Oh, what happened to the strength of the army? They don't support NATO agreements. Yes. They didn't support the United Nations being the peacekeeping government at that time. They refused to support a citizen's right to divorce his wife, and they'd rather. The army. The army doesn't defend the Constitution. It sounds like they do, but they don't. Now let's just look at it again, folks. Exactly how was the army involved in Kosovo? And why was NATO involved? And there could be some sort of lawsuit in here. Ouch. Now, there's what's known as the marshal. Yes. A law enforcement officer. Yeah. Whose duties are similar to those of a sheriff. A judicial officer who provides court security, executes process, and performs other tasks. Then there's the United States Marshals. Why don't you get me all the United States Marshals? They happen to be the oldest law enforcement agency of the United States government. Yes, U.S. Marshals are employees of the executive branch of the government. You know, I've emailed them thousands of times. In fact, there was a woman named Stacia. Yes. She was the director of the United States Marshal Service. Yes. Recently retired in the last 4 or 5 years. I told each and every United States Marshal that I'm going to fire every fucking one of them and sue them all because they don't seem to understand the importance of defending the Constitution of this nation. Now, before there were sheriffs, yes, there were federal marshals known as United States Marshals, yes. And when I thought of Stacia, it was about maybe 5 or 6 years ago, I thought, oh my gosh, her conscience must be hurting her. As if we were going the which way? Now, I thought that when I informed the United States Marshal Service of any violating of the 13th and 14th